for the August 8th elections that included more than 100 observers from 34 countries. Let's now take a look at some of the findings and recommendations that have been made by the Carter Center on the 2017 general elections that were witnessed in the country last year. So let's start with some of the core findings that were made by the Carter Center after their observation of the 2017 August elections. Now, the electoral process, they say, was marred by incidents of unrest and violence throughout the extended election period. Of course, by extended, they mean the August 8th, post-August 8th and into the October repeat polls. They say that harsh attacks by top political leaders on electoral and judicial authorities had seriously undermined the independence of the country's democratic institutions and the rule of law. And the judiciary and the electoral body IEBC came under fire from politicians several times over the elections. The Carter Center goes ahead to say that the confrontational tactics by political leaders polarized the country and exposed the deep tribal and ethnic rifts that have long been characterized in the politics of the country. So political leaders here being blamed for how the situation was in the August 2017 elections. The Carter Center also says that the pre-election period included a reasonably adequate but flawed voter registration process, which included an independent audit and corrective actions to address some of the many errors in the list. Remember, the voter register was also a bone of contention among the political class just before Kenyans headed to the election. They say the voting and counting process during the August 8th election were generally well administered. So, of course, a thumbs up there from the Carter Center to the counting of votes and relaying. But they also say that observers noted problems during the subsequent processes of electronically transmitting polling station results and their tabulation at county level tallying centers. So trouble begins during the electronic transmission of results after Kenyans took to the ballot on August 8th elections. According to the Carter Center, they released their final report earlier on today. So let's take a look at some of the recommendations that the Carter Center makes to Kenyans and, of course, to the political class after the August 8th elections. So they say that a comprehensive review of the electoral legal framework, including for party primaries and electoral dispute resolution, is needed to address gaps and inconsistencies that have been identified so far by stakeholders, civil society organizations, and the Election Commission during the 2017 election cycle. So they're recommending a comprehensive review on some of our electoral systems in the country. The Carter Center also recommends that Parliament considers extending the deadline for Supreme Court to resolve challenges to the results of a presidential election from the current 14 days to a minimum of 30 days. Of course, this is a conversation that a number of members of Parliament have also started having on the extension on the time when the election petition can be heard and determined at the Supreme Court in the country. The Carter Center also recommends that it has also outlined, rather, the need to amend the election law provisions regarding the criteria for annulling the elections. Remember, for the first time ever, the Supreme Court in the country annulled elections, bringing a lot of conversation on what should be the criteria of annulling elections at the Supreme Court, and also seems to be coming out very clearly from those recommendations and the report there by the Carter Center on the Kenyan elections. They also say the security forces were found culpable of misconduct during elections and should be held accountable. Remember, there were issues of extrajudicial killings in parts of the country owing to these particular elections. The Carter Center also recommends that political party leaders should proactively pursue inter-party dialogue at the national to local levels to address the deep political divides that emerged throughout the 2017 electoral period. So something to take home as well for political leaders in the country. Political parties are also being asked to implement a zero-tolerance policy for hate speech, intimidation, and violence, and hold party members and supporters accountable for violating the policies, especially at the political party level. So these are some of the recommendations that are being made there by the Carter Center on the August 8th,